Hey, I'm Chris, and my PIP is the waterless compostable toilet. The prompt or essential question I was trying to answer when I started my project was, how could we make toilets more sustainable? Because, back when they invented those toilets, they were just thinking about getting rid of their waste. They weren't thinking about sustainability. They just wanted to get rid of it. So, every flush you take is over 2 gallons of water, fresh water. Really, we're pooping in clean, fresh water. Am I the only one who sees something wrong with that? Okay. So to start off my project, most of my project was just mainly research. I had to research a lot of different things, like how to compost with human waste, which is surprisingly not that hard. History of toilets, history of waste management in general, compostable toilets, how toilets work, all that good stuff. Some really interesting things I learned from that is the Black Plague was caused from lack of sewage. God, people are just dumping their nonsense, their doo-doo in the street. Come on, people. Okay, so some troubles I had while making this toilet is how do you make it waterless? In a normal toilet, like the ones we use in our own bathrooms, there's the water, and then there's a tube going like this, leading down to the pipe. So the flush pushes all your stuff up and down that pipe, and that's what gets rid of it. But since I'm not using water, I can't do that. To overcome this problem, though, I just made my pipe straight down into the holding container. So there is no water needed, and your stuff just goes straight down. Many people are they think human waste is really ridden with disease and bacteria and stuff like that. But in reality, it's really not that bad. If you're a normal healthy person, your poop won't contract diseases and such. But if you do live in a place like Africa or somewhere where stomach diseases are in everyone, then I wouldn't compost with this toilet, because that stuff probably still has diseases in it. But if you're just a normal everyday American person, it's gonna be fine to compost with. How the composting toilet works is basically just like any other composting you would do, except you need to dry the solids, because the bacteria festers and it does its best in keeping itself alive in conditions that are most like the human body or its host that it was previously in. We want to get rid of all that, so to get rid of that, we dry the solid material using fans. And while drying, it also takes away a lot of the mass that was inside of the solids, so it makes it take up a lot less room than it would have. Another thing that was very important while making this toilet was the smell. You're composting and all, but you don't want to have your whole house reeking like doo-doo balls or whatnot. And it was actually very interesting learning about this, because the very acrid, horrible smell associated with sewage, pardon me, is mainly because of the mixture between the solids and the liquids. That's what creates that really bad smell. Although your solids are gonna be pretty bad smelling already. But when they're separated, they're not as bad. And when your solids are being composted, the smell is more earthy. If you want to put it that way. Just think about that. It's earthy, okay? But so yeah, and the smell isn't really that bad. And I'd also throw in some Febreze for you guys. Anybody who bought it, I guess, throw in Febreze. But also, my other way of trying to minimize I don't even know, dude. Okay, minimize the smell is I made to lower. Okay, to go number 2 in my toilet, you have to crank down this lid, and that opens up to the pipe. And the lid, when cranked fully up, it's straight up airtight. So I don't think a lot of smell would, or most of the smell would be contained inside of it, because it's airtight. And yeah, when you open it up, you get most of the smell. But oh wow. So to separate the solids from the liquids inside of my model, I made up a new kind of toilet bowl design. Like I just explained, you crank it down to go number 2, but if it's cranked all the way up, it's airtight, right? So I built it at a slant, kind of like this, and you know how if you're a guy, you know, so like urinals, they have kind of like grates like this. So I put those grates at the end of my slanted like toilet bowl, and those grates allow your urine to go directly into the pipe, which carries it down to its holding chamber. What else to talk about? How I covered. Okay, I think this project is pretty helpful and useful, as it already seems, because it's sustainable and you're not wasting all this water. And but how did I cover the 4 different content areas in like that we have to cover in school? Because I mean, great, I made a toilet, but am I covering all my core subjects? So I covered math. When I was creating the design, I had to do a lot of mathematical, like oh, how big is this gonna be, and is it gonna fit in there or whatnot. In history, I studied the history of toilets, who invented them, history of waste management, all that good stuff. Science, I had to learn the science of composting with human waste, just composting in general, how I would dispose of the compost, or what I would do with it once it's all ready, stuff like that. And English, I wrote about 5 or 6 pages of notes while I was researching, so it's a good bit of writing, good bit of research, yeah. So I'm trying to think about what to talk about next. I'm not really sure what I haven't covered and what I have covered already. So, okay, I'll talk about the actual composting that goes on inside of the toilet. So, you might be skeptical, be thinking like, oh, this is gonna be a really like high maintenance thing, but it's really not, because once you have once all your stuff is down in the, okay, let me actually tell you how to freaking compost first. So first you either put peat moss or coconut husk inside of the bottom of the, well, you put it inside of the bag, inside of the holding chamber, inside of the compostable toilet. So what that does is it will, the fans are there to take away the moisture and the water inside of your solids, but these serve pretty much the same purpose as just collecting all that wetness and getting rid of it. So, and also composting. So you put that on the bottom, do your business, and then I put a crank on the side, So you crank this thing, it gets all the composting process going, and you start composting. You just throw your toilet paper in there, throw your number 2 in there, crank it, give it a little crank, and you're all set. Just leave it there. Nothing more. Also, like, you might think, oh, I have to empty this thing like every Friday or something. No, not at all. This thing, it doesn't need to be, since the wetness is getting out of the solids, it greatly reduces the mass of it. So in reality, it depends on like the amount of people that are using it, but just say it's only like 2 or 3 people, you might only need to empty this thing once every like 2, 3, 4 months. Like, it takes a while before you have to empty it. And when you get it out, you can just go compost it. If you don't want to compost it, I guess you could just throw it out. Get some composting going down in the what are those, like, huge garbage pits. For the urine, I guess just pour it in another toilet or pour them down the sink. Yeah. So that's basically my toilet, and still in prototyping. I know there's still some things I have to fix with it. Like, I still want to get more of a better, like, not as bad smell out of it. So there's still some things I'm working on, but for the most part, I think I got my model down. Pretty stoked with it. So yeah, thank you for listening to my presentation. I've been pretty lengthy, but I've explained mostly everything to you, so, or if not everything, so thanks.